Today I'm going to attempt one of my least favourite types of missions, the Deliver the Bomb. It's a power level 164 player mission, and I'm going to run it solo. So I'm set to friends, but I've got nobody in my group, and I'm going to use the Ice King for the Frozen Castle, supercharged traps, MegaBASE, power modulation, lofty architecture, Cupid's arrow, survivalist, banner to be able to set a respawn point, and slow field in case things go wrong with the defense. The first thing we need to do when we log into the mission is we need to locate the rift, the launcher, and the armory. So the easiest of those three to find usually is the rift, and the launcher will be right next to the rift. So once I found it, I'm just going to jump off that ramp that I built, use my Guardian's Will to save me from taking the fall damage, and then make my way towards the rift. I generally pick up large ammo boxes because they will contain the energy ammo that I use an awful lot of with my Xenon bow. And the rift is just behind this bunch of caravans. So I found the rift. That means that the launcher is going to be somewhere pretty close by, and there it is down in this hole in the ground here. Now this is a bit of an interesting location. It looks like, because of the way that the ground is set, that nothing will be able to attack it from the water, but things will be able to attack it from above on the other sides, which is going to make it a little bit of a tricky build, but I'm going to worry about that later on. What I need to do now is locate the armory, and that is usually on a diagonal from the launcher. In this case it's pretty close, so what I'm going to do is try and find a way around, because the next stage after this will be to link the armory to the launcher so that I can transport a bomb. I'm just going to pick up a few resources as I go. I find by farming little and often, I don't need to do a full-on farming mission very often. Even when I've got full metal or full brick, I will still bash rocks here and there and cars just to pick up the other parts and bits and pieces that they might drop. And cactuses are a good source of planks and wood, and also twine. Okay, so here's the armory, and it's actually really close to the launcher physically. The launcher is down in this hole here, but although it's very close, because the tracks can only be placed on natural ground, it means that it's going to be probably quite a long route to actually be able to transport the bomb. So now I've located both of those, the next thing I'm going to need is 4 blue glow to put into the armory to generate a bomb, and for that I'm going to use this anomaly. You bash the anomaly, it splits into shards, usually 4, but in earlier zones it can be as few as 3. Once you've collected those, you get 4 blue glow, and you also get an additional reward. They're just a relatively easy way to get 4 blue glow without having to go running around the map and trying to pick it up whilst husks are hitting. I don't believe there's a timeout on it. If you go too far away, you get a warning to say you're abandoning the anomaly. But if it takes you a while to collect them because of husks getting in the way, that's not necessarily a problem. And I don't believe that the anomaly will even actually reset, because I have been running around the map and spotted expanded anomalies when I've been playing in missions with other people. So we've collected all 4 of those shards, so there's my 4 blue glow and my reward, so I'm just going to grab those and head on back to the armory. I did tame a raptor earlier on, and that was just to take care of some of the husks as I was running around the map. And now I'm going to place the blue glow into the armory. So what that's now done is given me 20 tracks and also a schematic to craft some new traps, because generally speaking 20 is not going to be enough to be able to connect the armory to the launcher. and it's just a case of finding a route, preferably as short as possible, to go from one to the other. You can't cross rivers, you can't drop down ledges, you can't build ramps and put tracks on them. The tracks have to follow the natural ground. So what you need to do is basically try and plan your route and break anything in the way, like rocks and cactuses and trees and things like that, so that you can then place your ramps. And that's what I'm doing here, is just clearing the path. And in some cases it's easier to start at the other end and start at the launcher and work your way back towards the armory. I generally do a bit of both, because it can be quite confusing when you're going up and down ramps and through tunnels and under things and around things and over things. But I've got to the point where I've almost finished now, and when the track can be placed it's blue, and when it cannot be placed it's red. And in some cases it's red because there's a tree in the way or a bush or something like that, and in some cases it's red because it's just too narrow. Here it's blue. For some reason it's not allowing me to place it, so I'm just checking there's no obstructions in the way. I still can't place it, so just checking with a floor piece. You can see the floor piece can't be placed. That means that the track cannot be placed, and unfortunately just a little bit of a glitch there. That means I can't place the track there, so what I need to do is find a different route. And as you can see, that one's red there, but if I bash out this column of stone and place down the floor piece, there we go, we've almost connected up. And I need one more piece. I'm just going to place that one down. Unfortunately, once you've placed a piece you can't pick it back up. If you break it, it is destroyed, but they're relatively cheap to craft. And now I've connected them up, I'm just going to break this spur because I don't want the bomb to go the wrong way. Just clear down a few additional resources. Okay, before I start the bomb moving, because I know husks are going to be spawning over there, I'm going to place a bit of block off around this ramp here. And also some block off on that ramp there. And now I'm going to start the bomb moving. So husks will spawn from various places and charge towards the bomb. There will be some husks that are interested in damaging the bomb. They will just run up to it and throw themselves against it, causing it a little bit of damage. And there are other husks, obviously, that are going to attack me as the player. And as you can see, they've already managed to bash their way through the wooden wall, the wooden roof, and the wooden cone that was on the top of it. So they're now flooding down here, and you can see the cowboy husks, the zapper husks, shooting at me, and smaller husks are attacking the bomb itself. Now I can place walls behind the bomb, and it blocks the track behind, but it doesn't stop the bomb moving. If I placed a wall in front of the bomb, it would collide with that wall and stop. So I need to be careful where I'm placing these walls. And in some cases it can get glitched, and I've managed to place a wall there, and somehow it's got stuck on a husk there. But it's moved back on. As you can see, the bomb's taken quite a bit of damage in this initial section. It doesn't really matter how much damage the bomb takes, as long as it doesn't get completely destroyed. Even a bomb with 1 health can be used. At the end, it's just important to try and make sure that it doesn't get completely destroyed. And now the husks are throwing themselves off this cliff here. So what I'm going to need to do is quickly put some walls up and put a ceiling above it. And fortunately, the husks AI is such that they will try and walk around rather than bashing through if they can possibly can, if it's a quicker route for them. So I don't necessarily want to block every route off, but now I've got far enough ahead, I'm just going to try and slow the husks down here. Just placing walls to give the husks a valid route, but one that's a little bit longer for them to walk along. They're coming from all directions now. So the bomb is at about half health now, but I'm fairly close to the end. Right, more husks are coming up there, so we'll place some more walls. Just want to use a slow field now just to slow the husks down, and I've managed to place a banner instead of my slow field, and now I've been knocked just as the slow field has gone down. The husks don't stop spawning and attacking the bomb just because I've been knocked. They will continue to attack the bomb, and as you can see, they have destroyed that bomb. So what I need to do now, the mission isn't lost. The bomb is lost, but I can still continue on. So what I'm going to do is go back along my track and open up all of these walls. I'm not going to knock them down because I can reuse them without spending any more resources. Grab some additional brick on the way. Just turn these back into arches. The bomb can travel underneath the arches without being impeded. And I can turn them back into walls after the bomb has passed through. So now I'm going to go and find another 4 pieces of blue glow. There we are, another 4 pieces of blue glow into the armory, and it will generate another bomb. And once again I am back to transporting the bomb from the armory to the launcher. So exactly the same as before, the bomb will travel down the track, husks will try and destroy the bomb. I'm running this footage a little bit more quickly. We've already seen what happens here, husks spawn. Lots of them get killed. I take a bit more care this time over how much block off I'm putting down. And we've got almost to the point where I got knocked last time and the bomb has taken no damage whatsoever. And we're nearly at the end now. And there we go. So the bomb is now travelling down that last little ramp and taken virtually, or in fact, no damage. So I'm just going to start bashing out these tracks, much in the same way as you can block the track off once the bomb has passed it. You can break the tracks as well once the bomb has passed it. I don't recommend doing that until you know for sure that the bomb is going to make it, because as you saw from earlier, if the bomb gets destroyed, you will need to transport another one, which might mean you need to relay all of that track. Now you can't destroy all of the track. This last piece that's in front of the launcher can't be destroyed, so that just means you can't place any floor traps underneath it either. But now the bomb is at the launcher. The next stage is going to be to defend the launcher, and in order to defend the launcher I am going to need to build around it. So what I'm doing now is just having a quick look to see where the husks are going to spawn from. The husk spawns can move, but the defense is relatively short, so generally speaking they don't move. So most of them are going to spawn up on these 2 sides, so they are going to come across here. So place stone floors all the way across, or brick floors all the way across, and then I'm going to place walls down the side again, using the door trick so that if any propanes do spawn, now nothing that falls into this water is going to be able to get back up into the launcher itself, but you might get some propanes down there. So by just placing these walls with doors in it, it just means that any propanes there are not going to bother to throw their tanks. And I can't place a wall directly in front of the launcher itself, but I can place walls all around it. And I just want to have a look now. There's this little tunnel here just to see where this leads to, just in case this is going to be another route, a quick route for husks to come down, and if it is, then I need to trap it up. Grab this piece of sunbeam on the way. Never pass up a piece of sunbeam if you see it. So come up this ramp here, and it's actually quite a way around for the husks to come down here, so I don't think that very many, if any at all, are going to bother to walk down this tunnel. So I'm not going to worry too much about trapping it up. That would be a good little tunnel to put a load of broadsides, floor freeze traps, wooden spikes, gas traps, all of that kind of stuff to absolutely shred the husks, but because they're not spawning anywhere that's going to walk down that tunnel, there's no point in using loads and loads of traps down there. I could put some simple block off down there, but again, as I don't think very much, if anything, is going to travel down it, I'm not going to spend a load of resources blocking it off. If it turns out that husks do come down there, I shall stand at the end with a xenon bow and fire lots of shots at them. So clearing down some of these resources. And at the top of this ramp here, because I don't want the husks to be coming up here, I'm going to use this ramp trick. So this is something that was designed by a guy called Hubicopter. You can use wooden ramps for this, they work perfectly well as well. And just by putting them in that configuration, it means that husks, small husks, don't see that as a valid path and don't even try and walk up it. Smashes, mini bosses, they'll walk past it as if it's not there and won't damage it. Animals will attack it, but most husks will just turn around and go a different route. So it's a really cheap and effective way of blocking off. So here, where the husks are going to come directly down from the spawn points over there, I am going to place those two walls there, and then I'm going to use floor freeze traps on the ground and ceiling drop traps on the top. These are not necessarily going to kill the husks, these are to stall the husks to the point where they despawn. So I place the floor freeze traps with my back facing the way I want the husks to be pushed, and I will place the ceiling drop traps in the same way. That just means that the husks will get frozen and pushed back, and by the time they're unfrozen, they are far enough away that they walk forward again and get hit again. I don't need to use power level 144 traps for this, because as I say, it's not about the damage. Higher level traps, higher tier traps will have more impact on them, which can affect the husk, but because the majority of husks will be so slowed down anyway, it's not necessarily an issue, and generally speaking, you don't need to use tier 5 or tier 6 traps. In here I'm going to place my base. Just a little bit of extra defense here. This is so that if the husks do break through at the top, they see that they've got additional layers to get through underneath, and it will dissuade them from going this way, and hopefully they will drop down the side. Not that I'm expecting them to break through up at the top anyway. And I'm just going to place a wooden wall there, and that's just in case of the exploding death bomb. I don't want that damaging the structure should a husk get killed in that corner there. And on top of here I am going to place some anti-air traps, and that's just really to deal with lobbers. If there are flingers that spawn that start throwing their husks at me, the anti-air traps are not going to be able to deal with them, so I'm going to need to deal with those actively anyway. But I'm still going to use my double damage, double reload anti-air traps here. They will do a bit more damage to the husks, so any husks that do land on the top there will be easier to kill. Again, you don't need to use those, they're not there to kill the husks, they're there to take care of any projectiles that might get thrown. One of the problems I always find with trying to place a ceiling 2 tiles up is it generally speaking will place a floor underneath me as well, even if I try and jump. But I'm just going to get rid of those. I don't really need to get rid of those, but I'm going to get rid of them anyway. And then I'm going to place some lower level tire traps up here. Again, these are not designed to kill the husks, they are just purely there to slow the husks down. So husks themselves have an internal impact counter. Once that impact counter has been exceeded, the husk is staggered. So by putting some lower level ceiling drop traps, I can affect that and start incrementing that impact counter. And here again, I'm placing floors or ceilings that I can place tire traps above, and then I'm going to place some 106s next to the structure, 77s a little bit further away from the structure, and on the ground here I'm going to place some more floor freeze traps. I don't really need to use power level 144 freeze traps, I'm just going to use these 77s, and then here I'm just going to place these wooden walls, because that means that the husks are less likely to try and go through that way and will walk a more direct route, because it's easier for them to break through a single tier 3 wooden wall than it is for them to break through a tier 3 wooden wall and a tier 3 brick wall. And then just in this tunnel I'm placing some wall darts. Wall darts have a range of a trigger range of 3 and effective range of 6, so by placing those wall darts right at the back there, any husks that walk down and start bashing on that wall will not only get hit by the freeze traps and the tire traps, but they'll also get shot by the wall darts. And then here, in case any husks decide to come wandering down this slope here, a couple of gas traps up at the top and a tire trap just to start that impact. And as you can see, the mist monster is taking quite a bit of damage, so this should deal with a lot of the little husks relatively quickly. And just because I want them to spend a little more time in with the gas, I am going to use another freeze trap on the ground here and place another wall to hold it up, just in case of any explosion destroying the tile holding it up. And also that will force the husks to walk around the edge of the wall. Just upgrade these a bit to give them a bit more resistance. And I'm going to place some wooden walls here again, just to dissuade the husks from trying to bash their way through. So a couple of layers, doesn't need to be tier 2, tier 3, literally tier 1 will put them off enough that it will be more effort for them to bash through the wood than it is for them to just drop off the side and go straight in the bottom. And that's really what you need to know about husk pathing. It's about how much effort and time it's going to take for a husk to break through your block off, compared to how much time it will take for them to walk around. If you want them to move, you can get them to move 2 or 3 tiles with relatively small amounts of block off. If you want them to move a further distance, you obviously need to increase the amount of block off, and that's when you start getting into using things like tier 3 metal with additional build health and all of that kind of stuff. But for a normal mission, you really don't need to be spending an absolute fortune on upgrading everything to tier 3 or using the highest level traps. Just be aware of what the natural terrain can give you, be aware of what the husk AI gives you. And I'm pretty happy with this build now. It's going to place a few wooden floors up here, just a bit of a lobber shield. Again, not spending huge amounts of resources. I'm sure I will still get some lobbers and some flingers somewhere, but if I block off some of the avenues that they can use to throw, it means that they will all be clumped together and therefore easier for me to kill with my Xenon bow. Okay, so pretty happy with that, so I'm now going to start the mission. So back inside, activate the launcher. Now, although I'm not AFKing this, I'm still not going to stand on my structure, because any assassin husks I want to divert away from the actual defense. I want them to come towards me out of the way, so I'm just going to stay up here. I've got a good vantage point, I can see what's going on. The tire traps are doing their job, they are pushing all of the husks back. A few assassin husks come up to meet me. Assassin husks are the only ones that can jump, so they can get past that block off because they're jumping up rather than going towards the block off, and some of them are wandering across here, as you can see from the spawn point. But most of the husks are behaving exactly as I expected them to, which is to walk the most direct route from the spawn points into the traps themselves. There's a few more than I would have hoped for that are walking along the side there and not going down the slope. I could have blocked that off, I suppose, but as you can see, the gas trap is going off, which means there are some husks going down there, so they're not all completely wasted traps. Get back up. There's a mini boss down there as well. Now, with the walls constructed with doors, the mini boss isn't interested in breaking those either. The mini bosses, generally speaking, are interested in killing the commanders if they can get to them. They're not going to bash down the walls just for the sake of bashing down the walls, but especially if they've got doors in them. But they will behave like other husks of their type, so if you get a smasher mini boss, it will still act like a smasher and still charge at things. And now I've got a dinosaur that's come to play. Let's get rid of him. And those tyres there, just pummeling all of those husks. Not a lot of husks will be dying, a lot of them will be respawning, or despawning rather. So we're over halfway through the defence now. I've been quite lucky, I've not heard any flingers yet. I've not seen any smashers. The good thing about this kind of defence is new husks will only spawn when old husks have been killed. So if you're delaying them by using the floor freeze and the drop traps, then it's not spawning new husks. It's only when they despawn or get killed that a new husk will spawn. And as you can see, they're just getting bounced around because those traps are not doing much damage to them, because they're power level 77 or power level 106. The husks are just getting bounced around. The ones down at the bottom are likely to be getting killed a bit more. I've got those wall darts down there to shoot some of them, but that was more around defending that tunnel in case a load of husks spawned that I didn't see. Again, some ammo to pick up. I'm down to the last 30 seconds of the mission. Just going to have a quick run around to see what's going on. Yep, these wall darts have gone off quite a lot. There's husks down here. Nothing has taken any damage. We've got healing death burst on them as well as exploding death bomb. Absolutely perfect, no damage whatsoever. If you've made it this far through the video, thank you for your time, and I hope you find it useful. Thanks for watching.